It's the TCTV training show. The TCTV training show. They're learning how to shoot and learning how to light, learning how to mic and edit right. These are TCTV's finest in training, doing their best with focusing and framing. It's the TCTV training show. The TCTV training show. You're watching TCTV. It's the training show. The TCTV training show. They will get better.
Okay, everybody, welcome to second Saturday at TCTV. We're all happy to be here. Robert's directing, and I'm your host, Maxwell Brown, media trainer and facilitator. Today, we're going to be talking about Xpression from Ross Products, and what it is a CG and 3D program, which you can use to make graphics. You can use it to make animations, and you can use it to make your show look really great. All right, so here is the basic layout of Xpression. There's two main screens, and this is the sequence screen, and the other main screen is the layout screen. So let's talk about the layout screen first. Let's talk about just what we're looking at here. So over here on the left-hand side is a scene manager. Basically, you just go ahead and click this sort of plus button. It says new scene. So boom, we got a new scene, and now it's just a blank space. So that's the scene manager. This is where all of our templates live. Let's go in a clockwise position and talk about this. This is our view. And so this is a 3D space right now. So to see in 3D space, you have to make more views. And so you can, so here we're looking at the front. And so let's just to show, this is a cube. And just to show that it is 3D, I can go ahead and just rotate it, and we can see that the cube has 3 dimensions. Over here is where all of our basic objects are. So if you need to have text in your graphic, go ahead and click text, and now we have a text available. And you want a quad, a sphere, a cube, cylinder, torus, etc. You just go ahead and click on them and bring them in. So these are the basic shapes of pretty much all nature. So theoretically, you can build whatever you want with these base objects. But the most important object and the Swiss Army knife of objects in Xpression is the quad. So every object has to have a material, and to even have anything in there, you have to have some sort of object, and then this is the quad, and so you can put things on top of this. So we'll get deeper into how to do that and what materials are once I get done describing the basic screen. Okay, so over here, as we might have noticed, there are a few tabs. And so you just come over here, and you can see it on the side. This first one is a very important one, and this is a material manager. So like I said, every object needs to have, to be able to see anything, you have to have some sort of material on it. Materials, like, you can think of it as the skin or the image or what have you. It's all sorts of things, but it is what you put onto objects. So after material manager, we have an animation zone here where we can help animate our objects, another animation controller, special effects, which our Ross trainer suggested we don't use, and I can agree with him, because if you use them, often Xpression will crash. So he says that you don't really want to use these, and yeah, I think that, what did we use? It was, I think it was just even a blur made it crash. So you probably want to stay away from the special effects, and you can do those in a different way, but you really don't need it. So audio files, if you want to have audio in your graphics, like swishes or whooshes or slishes or what have you, you can have some sort of fun audio with your image or animation. All right, so those are these tabs over here on the right-hand side. And the most important one is Material Manager. That's the one you're going to be clicking most of the time. This is the Object Inspector. And this is where you can transform and change your objects. So as it says right here, the first tab says Quad. So you can go ahead, and this is an interesting thing about Xpression as well, is that once you're in any sort of field where you can input numbers, you can go ahead and click and drag up and drag down, and you can change the numbers. So you can see I'm not touching this up or down button. I'm just going in here and up and down, and you can make the numbers grow. This is the basic one here. This is a transform where you can change the position. You can change the rotation and scale. And scale and this width and height are a little bit different, and we'll talk about that in a second. What it's doing and when it renders, the materials, like once again, this material manager, it's sort of represented down here. Data link, that we don't really have that, but that's to get some sort of information from the internet or RSS feeds. I don't think we have that option. Texture coordinates, so this is an interesting place where you can do kind of cool things. This is where you can manipulate the material as opposed to just the object. Lighting, how it's being affected by light, you can change that. Continuous animation, this is a fun place, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this is where it gives you sort of presets of animation, and so you don't have to go in there and keyframe everything yourself. It sort of lets you do it. Template links, so this is an important tab, because what this does is that it lets you say what you can change once we go into the sequence view. And effects, and this is where the effects would be if we used effects, and remember, we don't want to use effects. Over here to the left of that is the Object Manager. And so what this is just a list of all of the things that are in our scene. So if you see I add a torus, now the torus is represented here. And if you see this line right here, this is the relationship these objects have with each other. So what I mean by that is if I click and drag it and put it on this, now the torus is a child of this quad, which means if I move the quad, the torus moves with it. But if I move the torus, it's independent. So it's a child of the quad, and you can see that that's represented here. And if you want that off, you can go ahead and I think pull it out like that or something like this. Yeah. And you can see there's our text object, and that's up here. Okay, so a really important thing to know with Xpression that'll save you a lot of time is this control button on the keyboard is your best friend, because what it does is allows you to move things around, because if you just start clicking, you can't do anything. You can't move anything, it just selects stuff. But if you want to move something, you go ahead and hold control, and then you can move it. So that's the basic layout of layout screen in Xpression. Let's go ahead, before we get deeper into layout, I just want to show you guys the sequence view. Okay, so sequence is what you're going to be using when you're running your show. And what sequence is, pretty obviously, is it puts your scenes into a sequence. And so you can see, you simply grab any of your lower thirds or whatever in your scene, you drag them in, and now we have them in a sequence. And you can go up and down, and you can take this, take that, take this one, etc. In our sequence view, we can change the names of what, we can have it say, Maxwell's lower third. So layout is what you're doing in pre-production, and sequence is what you're doing during the show. So you don't really want to be messing around with layout too much while the show's rolling, because you can get messed up. So you want to make all your lower thirds first, and then you go into sequence, and then you run it like that. Okie dokie. So going clockwise down here in the bottom right-hand corner is a preview window, and that simply is showing us what our image is, so that if you need to see a visual representation of it other than words, you can see it down here. And I think what's helpful for a lot of members lately is that when we have two screens rolling, you undock the preview and you put it over onto this window, so you can just have a bigger view of it and go, oh, that's the one I want. So that's pretty nice about it. Okay, so template data down here in the Take Inspector window. This is where, remember how I said that the scenes are templates and templates are scenes? Well, this is how this works. So right here, it just says name and other info, right? And so in the template links, I said, go ahead and let the people change the text when it's in sequence. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 of these. And so we can see that sorry, it's over here. All right, we can see that is just a template. It says name and other info. I go down, and now I can change name to Maxwell. Whoop, pardon me. Okay, and so I can take the same scene, and it doesn't say Maxwell, it says name. So we can change that to say, let's say Dennis. And so this is a template that you made and that you can change any number of times in your sequence.
Can you take those?
Sure. Yeah. So there's Dennis. There's me. And you see it's the same scene or template, but we can change the words in here in the sequence view. So this just makes your life a little bit easier, as opposed to doing it in the layout and making 10 different ones that have 10 people's names on it. You can make one and then come to sequence and then change everybody's name in here. And I guess up in this bar is basically just tools, and it's kind of usual. This is open, this is save, it's a little disk icon. This is save as, or save all, excuse me. This is the move tool, and this really is effective in layout. Move, so now we have X, Y, and Z coordinates. So X is left and right, Y is up and down, and Z is Z space, so forward and backward in 3D zone. So you're on move tool, but you want to rotate it, you can't. So you have to come to rotate. Now you have a rotation tool, and now we can go ahead and rotate it. This is a scale, so you can make it bigger in X space, bigger in Y space, and where's my Z? I can't really see it, but it's in there. And pivot, so this is showing us the point of which it will rotate around. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a new scene, and I go ahead and just push new scene. And so we have a blank scene. And so we want to make a lower third. All right. First thing we do is we have to get a quad, because remember, we have to have something to put our material on. So now we have a quad. So quad needs a material, and so we're going to go ahead and come to materials. And so here's a bunch of materials that we have, and let's go ahead and just make a new material. And you can right click, new material. Okay, so here comes up a scary window. So this is our material editor. When you first open it up, what we're seeing here is it's giving us a choice of what color we want. We can go ahead and pick any color, and the hue, saturation, and luminance. So you can go through that, or if you prefer RGB, you can go ahead and do it that way. So as you see, as I change the color over here, this cube sphere is just showing us what the color or the material looks like on a 3D image. It's just, this doesn't have anything to do with your project per se. It's just giving us a visual example of what we're doing here in the material editor. So what we're making a material. We're creating a brand new material. So let's say you want a color, and this is the most simple version, or simple way to do it, is that you can just go ahead and make a color, click OK. Now we have yellow down here, as we can see. Double click, now our quad is yellow, right? These can be used on anything, but if you change this material, it's going to change globally for all of the objects that are using this material. So you have to make a new material for what you want. Don't just use one and then change it, because you can really mess up yourself.
Is there a duplicate function, or do you have?
Oh, sure. Yeah, just right click and duplicate. Now we got two. So let's change. So we got a quad, but we're making a lower third here. So let's talk about Material Editor a little bit more. So I simply double clicked on the quad and Material Editor popped up. So let's talk about what we're looking at. What we're looking at is, so this is diffusion, ambient, emissive, and speculative. This is how light affects your material. And if you want just a simple base color, you don't really have to worry about it too much. But if you want to get really tricky in 3D and you want things to look shinier or more matte and that kind of thing, that's when you're going to be messing around with these channels. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so this is not very intuitive, but it's very important, is that this is pretty simple here, right? So we want to we want to add an image to our quad. And so you come to this button, and this is a new layer of our material. And so you can go ahead and click this, and if it doesn't, there we go. So this is giving us all sorts of options. So we can add texture, we can put a video onto our quad. Let's get an example. Where is a good one? All right, so these are animated, right? We'll go into sequence and take this. That one's very subtly animated. Let's find one that's a little bit more dramatic. All right, this one, boop. So we can see that this is moving, right? This is a video that I've applied to a quad. So this is kind of what we were just talking about. This material is a video. Over here, this right here is just one of these null objects that I was talking about. This is a layer object. This doesn't have anything in it, but I have everything be the child of this, so that if I need to move something around or I need to change something globally, this is what it can be. So what's going on in we have a light. All scenes have lights because, like I said, in 3D space, if you don't have light, you can't see anything. We got a quad. This is the main quad. Then I have another quad that I use as the drop shadow. I made that. Can you see that if I turn it on and turn it off? It's subtle, but it's there. Just a little bit of a stylish to make it look a little bit better. There's a text 1 and text 2, and they're all children of the main quad. So I can go ahead and change anything about the quad, and it's gonna go ahead and be affected like that. So to get a picture onto our quad, we have to, because we just have color options here, we have to make a new layer, and we'll go ahead and call it a texture. And so this is asking for an image, and we have one in here, I'm sure. So let's see. Let's just go ahead and just pick this. So now an image has been applied to our quad. So there's all sorts of cool textures we can have. And here, I'll just so that we can all ooh and ah real quick, let's go ahead and, so here's Google. We're going to turn off this texture. I'm going to make a new texture of the window capture. Now this is what's kind of neat, is that you can click and hold to select a window. So clicking, and I want this window. So now our lower third is internet. Is that exciting, guys? I think this is pretty neat. You can have a source of anything you want on the internet coming through your CG, so you can layer in all sorts of neat stuff. So this is a good time, I guess, to talk about 3D space real quick. So as we can see, things are on top of each other and behind each other, and it's because there's Z space. So let's take a look at our view.
You use the term Z space. You want to clarify that?
Sure. So let's talk about Z space right quick. So we're looking at the front. This is the front, right? So now if we go to the left side, now we don't see anything, right? Because everything is on a flat plane in Z space. So, stretch this out a little bit. So X position, Y position, Z position. So we take this first quad and we move it in Z space, and now it's moving. So as we can see, this is Z space. This is forward and backwards. So that quad is there. Let's move this one there, there. So I'm going ahead and going to grab all these quads and make them the child of this group. So we have alpha, which is its transparency, X position, Y position, Z position, X rotation, Y rotation, etc. And so Y rotation, so we can see what's going on in 3D space here, right? Okay, so we're still in the left viewport, and we'll just go ahead and go to the front, and now we're in the front again. So we kind of got off into the zone of fun stuff, and we should probably be talking more about lower thirds a little bit. What's the first thing we need to do to make a lower third then, guys? Let's apply our knowledge. Quad, thank you. Okay, so we got a quad. And I'm pushing control and I can move it around. So I'm going to move it down here to the, and who can guess why it's called lower third? Because it's on the lower third of the screen? Yes, you guys are smart. All right, so, no, I'm serious. No. You'd be amazed at how that works sometimes. So, transforming the quad, so I'm going to take the scale X, Y, and X is, remember, left and right, and Y is up and down, so where is it? X. And these are locked right now, so I'm just turning that off. And I'm going to go ahead and squish it down, and so now we have a basic lower third. What do I do next, guys? Material. Very good. So I'm just going to add this material. And so now we have, I mean, we wanted a picture? Here's a picture. Okay, so I think this is actually an animation though. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so that's sort of yeah. It's pretty. And that's in here. All right, so we got our picture onto our quad. Who can guess what happens next?
I want some text.
Text, sounds good. All right, so this is another area. So every object needs to have a material. And just like a quad needs a material, text needs a material. So here's our text box. And I'll go ahead and type in, sure, why not? My name, if I can type. I'll give it a try. Maxwell Brown, for all those who don't know. And so I just control, drag, placed it down here in a nice area. Okay, so all the materials, all the fonts need to have a material. And this is like the materials, these are global. So if you make a change to one of these, it's going to change throughout all of the projects. So you got to make a new one if you want a new one. But if you want to just use an old regular one that we have already, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so let's take a look at text real quick. We got scene fonts. We can have the font be 2D, and when I pop that up, it's saying, if you change this, it's going to change it globally, and so I'm going to say no real quick. We can have a 2D, we can have 3D text. And 3D text, just to demonstrate its 3D-ness, we can go ahead and rotate it. So it is 3D. Okay, so, and you can rotate it however you wish. Okay, click and drag, got it down here. And as we see, this quad is in between, it's in the middle of the text. Because in Z space, they're in the same plane. So now it's behind it, all right? So Z space. So we got my name. It's 3D, and this isn't really the classiest lower third, but hey, what do we got? So down here are options where you can change the face of it, which is normal sort of text parameters, the size, all that kind of stuff. Bevel is the edges, and so as you can sort of see that the edges are rounded, the bevel's how the object's rounded, so it's not just a sharp corner, it's sort of beveled. Extrusion is how thick it is in Z space. Back bevel, back face, what it looks like behind, etc. These tabs down here are important to know too, because this is where you can change the font. So if you know, whatever font you want. Options, and this just gives you more things to change, like you want the extrusion, you want it to be thicker. You know, you can make it as thick as you need it to be.
It's like Superman text.
Yeah. Dump down. All right, so what else should we talk about in the next minute?
How you put the graphics next to your name.
Oh, like a picture?
A little picture.
An image?
Okay, sounds good. So we got a quad. Every time we got to have anything in there, we got to have an object. So here's our quad. And I'll go ahead and grab a material, and let's let that lady, and boom.
There you go.
Pretty quick and easy, huh? The nitty gritty. So I don't really like this text at all. Gonna delete it. So we have this picture, and we'll add another text to make it a little bit classier. And I want this, and I'll do this. So, but like if you were doing this for your show and you wanted to have this lower third and then multiple people's names, you would do like I did and just sort of say name. You know what I mean? So that you can use it as a template when we drag it into our sequence, and then we can change everybody's name to Kate and drag this one out, and Dennis. And drag this one out.
So you have the first one and you just call it template or something?
Yeah, I just put like, so with all of these lower thirds that I made, it just says name and other info. So where are we at?
So when you create a new scene, you're creating a new template. Is that right?
Yep, scene is a template. Okay, so wow, 12 seconds. Okay, real quick here is that this button next to the new is a scene group, and these are kind of complicated, but these are used for kind of built-in animations, so you can have a roll and a crawl. So you can go ahead and drag this in, and what is it? Type in some stuff, and it'll do it like that. So this is the end. And grab this. Where's my scale? XYZ scale, XYZ scale. Come on, buddy. Let's make it bigger and bigger. And set a keyframe, move it over here, move it down, set a keyframe, and this, and hopefully this will work, and this. So this is a continuous animation right here. Let's see, where does it say? Second Saturday. So continuous animation. It has position X, position rotation Y, so it's rotating. This is an animation. We didn't have to keyframe anything. We just use this continuous animation to do it. So if I wanted it to pivot Z, now it's sort of pivoting on its own. And if I wanted it to, now it'll probably go transparent, I think. All right, where is this? Yes. So now it's up and down. Now it's forward and backward. Now it's rotating. And so this just makes your life a little bit easier and saves you time so that you don't have to keyframe everything. So it's basically like animation presets. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I hope everybody enjoyed this Xpression tutorial. I know I did. And really happy that you all came. We do this every month at TCTV. And if you all want to learn more, come on down and talk to some of our great trainers. And we'll answer your questions after the show. So thanks for being here, and see you when I see you on the TV.
All right. Very good. Good job.